Hey guys, how's it going? Today we are going to review the sequel to the original Kingsman, which is called Kingsman: The Golden Circle. Now, before we talk about Kingsman: The Golden Circle, let's talk about its successful predecessor, which was Kingsman: The Secret Service. Now, Kingsman: The Secret Service was directed by Matthew Vaughn, and Matthew Vaughn had made some really good movies before. Kick-Ass, X-Men First Class. Hey, that rhymed. And there were a lot of people that really liked this movie. It was action-packed, it was well-paced, it was funny, and it was also a spy movie that, while it also makes fun of other spy movies, it knew when to take itself seriously in other situations. And now we are here with Kingsman: The Golden Circle. We follow Taron Egerton, who plays our main character Eggsy, basically a young recruit turned spy in the last movie, and he is back once again to do another mission. This time, the mission kind of has some stakes that are a little bit raised. Because you see, a villain by the name of Poppy, played by Julianne Moore, who's basically the queen pin of this whole entire drug cartel, who not only destroys the entirety of the Kingsman base, but has also created a virus in other people's drugs so that way people can go crazy and such. And now it's up to Eggsy to team up with Merlin, who's played by Mark Strong once again, to team up with the Kingsman sort of organization called the Statesmen, who consists of Halle Berry, Channing Tatum, Pedro Pascal, and Jeff Bridges. And it is up to them to seek revenge against Julianne Moore. Now, getting out of the first Kingsman movie, I really liked the first Kingsman movie. It was fun, it was entertaining, it was exciting, and I was really looking forward to this movie because when I saw the trailers, I was like, alright, this might be so freaking awesome. When I look at a Kingsman movie, I expect three things out of it. Have it be funny, have it be action-packed, and have it be very entertaining to everybody. This Kingsman is not funny, it's bloated, and it's not entertaining, because Kingsman: The Golden Circle, as British people would put it, is complete and utter rubbish. But believe me, I was really looking forward to this movie, but oh my god, this movie was terrible. Absolutely terrible. Before we talk about how much this movie sucks, let's talk about the good stuff about it. First of all, some of the characters, and even some of the performances in there. I can only name out two performances that really stand out for me personally, and it's one of the secondary characters. First up, Mark Strong. I really like Mark Strong, even though he's been in a lot of bad comedies like The Brothers Grimsby, which, by the way, this movie is tons better than The Brothers Grimsby, might I add. But he, for me, was really one of the highlights in this movie, and he was really the one that kept me paying attention for most of the time. And Pedro Pascal, who plays the Agent Whiskey, and I'm not kidding, that's actually his real codename. But he was also not only an interesting character, but a very fun one to watch. And his performance really shined through most of the movie. Okay, now let's get to everything else. One of my biggest problems with this movie, as I stated before, is that this particular Kingsman movie is not funny. Instead of being kind of witty and smart like its predecessor, it goes the route of, okay, let's try to be more raunchier and more funny and more ridiculous than the last one. I was looking at a review from like a website called popsmatters.com, who basically stated, I think it was on Rotten Tomatoes, it said, if Adam Sandler did a remake of Die Another Day, then this is what it would look like, Kingsman: The Golden Circle. And you know what? I concur. The humor in this movie feels like something out of an Adam Sandler movie. I'm not kidding. The comedic timing in this movie is awful, and just some of the jokes or even the scenes are just completely, unneededly raunchy. And speaking of which, one of the biggest scenes in the movie that is getting a lot of notoriety is that Eggsy has to go and find a girl who turns out to be the girlfriend of another bad guy at this Woodstock concert. And what he basically has to do is put a tracker on her. Now, here's the thing. The tracker really has to go inside of her bloodstream, and the only way to do that is by fingering her. So yeah, Eggsy puts the tracker on his finger, and goes down, and fingers the girl and puts the tracker in her vagina. What? And it was just like, why does this need to happen? Basically, like, the whole joke, even preceding that thing even happening, it was basically to see which agent can finger the girl first. And there's another part of this movie that I hated. I hated so much, and I just like, why is this guy in the movie? Why is Elton John in this movie? Why? Number one, his comedic timing is awful. Number two, he's a terrible actor. Elton John is basically a running joke in this movie. The running gag of the movie is, oh look, it's Elton John. Elton John's gonna do something funny. Oh look what Elton John said, isn't that hilarious? Look what Elton John did, he did a flying kick into a guy's face and then he smiled at the camera with a little twinkle in the teeth as he's kicking the bad guy in slow motion. And I'm not kidding, as that scene was happening, I was like, oh my god. If there was a nomination for worst cameo of the year, here's your frontrunner. He's basically there because he's captured by Julianne Moore, who Julianne Moore is really obsessed with the 50s, but why does she kidnap Elton John? One of the things that I really love from the first Kingsman are the really good action scenes. You know that fight scene from the church? That was one of the greatest action scenes of that year. I mean, it wasn't as good as Caesar fighting Koba, but it was still good. All they're trying to do is that they're trying to one-up that church scene, and they have failed with every fight scene. And the choreography, it's good if you don't notice the incredibly obvious CGI. One of the things that just ruined the fight scene entirely is that they tried to, you know, do this zoom in and zoom out and zoom in and zoom out with all this slow motion. I was like watching some of the action scenes, I'm like, oh my god, this is King Arthur all over again. Except none of the action scenes are any remotely as bad as King Arthur, but they're just so over the top and just ludicrous. Now, as I stated before, Pedro Pascal and Mark Strong have really made this movie somewhat higher than unwatchable. First off, the acting's not that good, and second off, what characters? And even some of the dialogue that characters say are either some very bad one-liners or just really bad dialogue. Taron Egerton as Eggsy. He was good in the last one. He's not as great in here. And when you see some of the actors from The Statesman, some of them are completely wasted. Halle Berry has nothing to do in this movie. She's just there to stand behind the computer and type and tell people, okay, stop here. That's it. That's all there is to her character. Channing Tatum, who I was really looking forward to. He's barely in the movie. And speaking of barely in the movie, Jeff Bridges. You could have had any other person playing that character. When the dude is completely wasted in an action movie that's supposed to be entertaining and good, you know you messed up. Then again, he was an R.I.P.D., so. Mind I pop a little query of, why does Colin Firth need to be in this film? What was the point? As I saw the trailer, I was like, wait a minute. Didn't he die? Spoilers for none of you who saw Kingsman. But he, in all honesty, has really not much to work with, other than to carry out the subplot of the fact that after he's been resurrected in Kingsman in a completely convoluted way, he has amnesia. Yeah, that cliche. Finally, let's talk about the villain. Now, in the past movie, Kingsman: The Secret Service, it was Samuel L. Jackson. Now, with this character, his plan was very calculated, and at the same time, he was also sort of like a sociopath / pacifist. He was a very dangerous man, and yet he doesn't like killing people. And he made that character work, along with that very silly lisp that he has. Julianne Moore, on the other hand, is fine in the movie, but her character, I did not find a sense of menace at all from her. In the original, yeah, you can see some kind of menace in Samuel L. Jackson. With Julianne Moore's character, I didn't find that at all because most of what she does in this movie is very predictable. You know she's gonna kill that one guy for not doing the right thing. She follows the whole trait of, oh, she's a very nice lady, except in reality, she's a psychotic monster. And she's also obsessed with the 50s. Why? The movie doesn't tell you. Now, there are gonna be people commenting all over the place like, oh, Luke, you gotta be honest, it's self-aware, it knows what it's doing, and it's trying to follow all those same tropes. It's making fun of spy movies, man. Okay, first of all, that's what the first one did, and it did it very excellently. And here, it just fails completely because it's trying to embrace the absurdity and stupidity, but it does it without any sense of logic, wit, or humor to go along with it. And also, being self-aware does not save your movie, ever. Anyways, guys, I wanted to like this movie, and I imagine you would too. But Kingsman: The Secret Service is such a massive disappointment. Its extra raunchy humor is not funny, its action scenes are cartoonish and not as great as its predecessor, the characters are non-existent, the acting is bad, aside from 2 people, it's bloated as all hell, and Elton John, I mean, your music is fine and all, but don't do something like this ever again. And it really pains me because while the first one is awesome and this one was absolutely bad, because coming off of the success of this movie, it honestly feels like the studio was telling Matthew Vaughn, do what you want. Take everything that people liked in the first Kingsman and put it in here. But do it to a raunchier degree. Make it more exaggerated. Make it more hyper-realistic. Instead, it just falls flat on its face. I hate to say this, but Kingsman: The Golden Circle earns a 0.5 out of 5. And Matthew Vaughn, I'm telling you, if we get a third one, do not make it like this. Please. Alright guys, that is my review of Kingsman: The Golden Circle. Comment below, let me know what you thought about the movie. Find me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and also be sure to subscribe for more. My name is Luke Nukem, and Matthew Vaughn, make a better Kingsman movie. You're better than this.